Hey guys, Q&A Tuesday.
No, stop, no.
What the was that? Hey guys, you know it, it's Q&A Tuesday. Here's a good question from Suave. Rico, Suave?
Suave.
You guys remember that song? Yeah. Anyway, love your videos and wishing you and your family and everyone at Luxury Bazaar a safe and prosperous new year. Thank you. My question is as follows. Of all the watches you are aware of, which watch will survive Mars colonization? Walking around the red planet, which watch would you choose? That's an interesting question. Maybe I should call Elon Musk and find out. It all depends on, when Mars will be colonized. I mean, based on Elon Musk's latest developments, if you guys follow the guy, it shouldn't take too long, and we should all see it in our lifetime. Whether it's going to be a human colonization or robotic colonization, time will show, but in the very least, we're going to see activity on Mars in our lifetime that I am fairly sure of. Let's say it's many years from now, you have to consider how many older watches out there still in survival, right? Go back to antique pocket watches. There's antique pocket watches out there that are hundreds of years old that have survived and people still have them in their collections. There's plenty of wristwatches out there that are very old that have survived just the same, right? So I have no doubt that pretty much any watch that's in the market today is going to survive. But if I'm walking around the red planet, which watch am I choosing? Well, I'm going to go with the most recognizable and most durable watch, and that's going to be a Rolex. Because in case there's somebody hanging out behind those red rocks, I guarantee you that they will still recognize that I have a Rolex on my wrist, number one. But in all seriousness, the durability of Rolex is certainly one watch that I would take. Or perhaps it would be an Omega. Omega being that watch that went to the moon, I only feel it's fair to give Omega the shot of going to Mars. But if it's Elon Musk that's doing something like this, I can see this guy choosing someone who is a little bit more of his mindset, a little bit more avant-garde, and that probably would mean he would be wearing an independent something in the likes of, let's say, an MB&F, and that would be my guess. But I would choose a Rolex in case those green guys come out from behind those red rocks, start asking me questions. At least I'll have a bargaining chip because I'm sure they know what Rolex is even on Mars. I mentioned on one of the watches and whiskeys when I introduced the merch, one of the sweatshirts that we created, which by the way, we're not mass producing those. We're just ordering a few at a time. We're going to keep changing them up and keep giving them away, or I'm not selling them. I know a lot of you guys reached out to me and asked to buy one. And I need it! We're just doing this for fun and to basically keep you guys more engaged with funny questions and funny comments, right? In one of the episodes, I said, the funniest questions is going to get one. And Gary Faulkner, a longtime viewer of mine, he's the fireman in England that sent me one of his coins. I showed it on one of the shows. Check out the funny question this guy sent me. Hey, Roman, hope you're doing well. Here's my creative questions for the hoodie. When you drop buttered toast, it always lands butter down. Murphy's Law always happens, right? And when a cat falls from a height, it always lands on its feet. What would happen if you buttered a cat's back and dropped it out of a window? I don't know. Next question, how do they grow seedless grapes? Also a good question. If the guy that invented the drawing board didn't get it right the first time, what would he have gone back to? That's funny. If a disgraced judge gets debarred and a disgraced priest gets defrocked, does a disgraced streetwalker get delayed? Apologies, I had a couple of beers. Stay lucky, mate. Yes, it definitely sounds like you had a few beers. I guess this is from the series of where does the white go when the snow melts, or why do we park on a driveway and drive on a parkway type of deal, and if stores are open 24/7, why do they have locks on them? These are all oldies but goodies, Gary. I appreciate it. And I know that by the time this airs, you have already gotten your sweatshirt, so I sent one your way. But back to some watch questions. Hey Roman, longtime viewer of your YouTube channel. I wasn't a watch person until the YouTube algorithm put one of your original travel vlogs in my feed. I like travel videos. I started viewing the watch videos as you put them out and fell in love with watches and your content. Anyhow, my email is about wall clocks. I like the idea of collecting official manufacturer wall clocks, Rolex, FP Journe, AP, etc. But I have no idea if they're available to the public. I can't find anything from a manufacturer's website. There are a few expensive ones on Chrono24, but I don't have a clue whether they're legit or fake. I really don't know where to start on this journey. I don't have an answer to that, and the reason I don't have an answer is because manufactured clocks are not readily available to the public. There were some companies that produce clocks specifically for sale, but most clocks are dealer clocks, as we call them, dealer display clocks. Furthermore, a lot of these dealers that receive these clocks for their showrooms, they're actually on memo to them, meaning that they don't actually own them. So it's like companies lend them to them. They never really ask for them back, but in theory, they give it to them on memo so that they don't resell them. Of course, they still do. As far as clocks on Chrono 24, you can send me an email and I'll tell you whether you're buying a real clock or not. There's a bunch of Rolex and Patek clocks out there for 100 to 200 bucks. Those are not real clocks. Those are just clocks made by somebody else utilizing the company's logos. But there are plenty of legitimate clocks out there. In fact, I'm going to ask Ian to walk around the second floor of our office and show some of the clocks that we have hanging around the office. How have we gotten those clocks? We've collected them over the years. Literally, I would walk into an authorized dealer and be doing a deal with him and put a bunch of watches together, going back and forth in price, and I'll say, okay, I'll buy this for XYZ, and you got to throw in that clock, and they would. Right? I've gone out and bought clocks from dealers. There's dealers out there that sell. There's clocks out there that sell for a tremendous amount of money. A good example is the Patek Philippe World Time clock. I've owned that clock at one time. I bought it for like $2,500. I was at a trade show. I decided, you know what, I'm going to take it to a show, see if I can make money on it. And they've gone up in price. And I sold it for $12,000. And I thought wow, I made 10 grand on a clock. Wow, that's so great. They're going for like $30,000, $40,000 right now, so I should have actually held on to it. But that was probably the only clock I've ever sold. Every so often, some of the dealers will reach out, hey, I have a couple of clocks. The last clock I bought was a graph clock. That was a couple of months ago, right? And in general, these clocks are going to range anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 to $10,000, depending on how popular the brand is, depending on how old the clock is. I have an old Patek Philippe Ellipse clock that's actually hanging in my house. It's a golden ellipse with a blue dial. It's a pretty vintage one, early 90s. You know, that clock goes probably for $5,000, $6,000, right? I have a Hublot Big Bang clock. Those things go for buku dollars just because it's literally a Big Bang with a ceramic bezel. It's really nicely made. Again, it's not something that there's specifically a market for because there's no for sale supplier for those. The way those clocks make it onto the market is again from the manufacturers onto either dealers or private clients as gifts, and then they make it into the secondary market. But if you're looking at something online, feel free to shoot me an email. I'll tell you whether that's a real clock or not. Great hobby to have, looks great around the office and your house just the same. So a while back, a gentleman by the name of Simon sent in a question about which watch to keep and which not. I get a lot of these questions from you guys. I usually don't answer them on air. I just answer via email because it makes all the sense. But I decided to air this one. Simon wrote, Roman, amazing channel. My first attempt reaching out, hoping you can help me decide as to which Royal Oaks I should sell at this time. I do value your opinion, specifically as an AP fan yourself. I do love all three, but one needs to go as I don't want or need 3 APs. Everybody needs 3 APs or more. But anyway, here's a pic of them side by side. I'm sure I don't need to mention the models. I can't find the picture in the email, but I do remember what the watches were. One was a 15300 rose gold on a strap with a white dial. The other one was an offshore rubber clad, and the third was an AP Royal Oak Chrono. Okay, and my response to Simon was to get rid of the 15300 and rose. And the reason I said that is because the 15300 on straps, the yellow one, the rose one, weren't particularly popular to begin with. They've gone up in value tremendously due to the entire hype of the Royal Oak, but at the end of the day, the white dial rose gold combination just doesn't look good. Steel and white looks good, yellow and white looks good, but the best looking combination in my opinion was always the rose gold black combination. Had that been a Royal Oak 15300 with a black dial, I would have told him to keep it. I told him to keep the Royal Oak Chrono because I think aesthetically it's just a good looking watch. To me, the Royal Oak is better than the plain watches, contrary to the popularity, right? I think aesthetically one of the ultimate sports chronographs, right? And last but not least, I told him to keep the rubber clad because I think rubber clad are becoming somewhat iconic. Again, remember I told you guys about those sleepers. The rubber clad is the only offshore of its kind, right? For a while, that was, go-to watch from AP. There weren't such a big variety of offshores out there. Yes, they made a lot of limited editions, but the rubber clad always stood on its own. And I don't think it's something that's ever going to be made again because, again, durability issues. Over time, rubber tends to dry and crack. If you bang the rubber or take a chunk out of the rubber, you can't really fix it outside of replacing the bezel. And that's why I don't think you're going to see a future rubber clad ever again, unless AP decides to remake one in 10, 20 years as an anniversary piece or something like that. And even then, it's going to be different rubber, I'm sure. So those are the two I told Simon to keep, and I told him I would air this. So Simon, here you go. Here's the answer that I already wrote to you, but I'm sure you guys found that informational just the same. Here's a question from Ray. Hey Roman, I really enjoy your YouTube channel, so please never stop making the videos. With your Q&A, I personally do like it when you have Adrian on with you. So maybe the next one we'll do either another live with Adrian or we'll just do it in the other studio and answer some of the questions you guys emailed in. First question, they're currently priced similar. If you were purchasing a watch for around $90K and choosing between a rose gold Royal Oak Chrono or a stainless steel Royal Oak Perpetual Calendar, which one would you go with? Second question, do you think it would make more sense to put an extra $25,000 to $30,000 to buy a gold Perpetual Calendar? Third question, if I could get the Omega Speedmaster Snoopy edition at retail, would it be a mistake to wear it for a few years before trading it in? Ray. First question, very hard. You're comparing a gold chronograph versus a perpetual calendar. Are you looking for a complication, or are you looking for more of a flash? Because of the chrono in gold, you're going to get more of a flash. But because you asked me the second question to say, do you think it makes more sense to put an extra 25, 30,000 to buy a gold perpetual? I'm going to tell you to go with that, because it sounds like you really want a perpetual and you really want gold. So you want a complicated gold watch. Therefore, my answer is going to be to go for the gold perpetual.
Do it.
As far as Snoopy, would it be a mistake to wear it for a few years before trading it in? Absolutely not. Why? If you're getting this thing at retail, you're getting it a third of what the market is. So even if you market drops 10, 20%, and if you wear it because it's used, it drops another 30%, you're still doubling your money. This is something that you like and you want to wear, absolutely wear it, and then you can still sell it and make money. My personal advice is never to sell it.
I say when we sell.
Because of the price you're picking up and based on the watches that you're shopping for, where you're willing to spend $100,000 on another watch, I'm assuming that the retail price of the Snoopy is not going to make you or break you financially. I would just hold on to the watch. It's just a cool watch. Hope that answers your question. Here's a question from Giovanni. Dear Roman, I had the possibility to see in person the Bulgaria Octofinissima minute repeater carbon, and I was extremely impressed. The watch is ultralight and I really like its sporty look. It's definitely something you don't see every day in a minute repeater. Unfortunately, the cost of producing the watch is extremely high, therefore they only manufacture 50 pieces. The price is way above my possibilities. First of all, I would like to know if you ever seen that watch in person and what your thoughts are. Second, I'd like to know where you see the price of the watch in the current market. Thank you very much for your extremely interesting videos. Keep up the great work. Well, thanks again, Giovanni. I have not handled that watch in person. I did have the ultra thin Octo Bulgari Tourbillon. I've showed you guys this watch either on the video or on my Instagram. I don't remember, but I'm sure Ian can pop in those frames. That watch retail for $100,000. I would imagine the carbon minute repeater is probably a couple of $100,000. We sold that watch for $45,000, right? Less than half price. And if you figure what I make, you probably know that I paid somewhere around $40,000 for that watch, right? Now, you mentioned the cost of producing the watch is extremely high, therefore they're only manufacturing 50 pieces. False.
It's false.
They can afford to produce whatever they want. It's a question, are they going to be able to sell X amount of these minute repeaters out there? Because look, when you get into a high-end price range, there's a lot of options out there for people to spend their money on. And Bulgari is not quite in the realm of, oh, my pieces are going to sell over retail, close to retail, they're going to fly off the shelf. So the reason I made 50 pieces only, it's not because it was too expensive to produce, it's because they know they made 500 of them, they just wouldn't sell. You know, where do you see the price in the current watch market? Well, if I'm imagining this is a watch, if I had to go out and order, it probably cost me 35 off, and I would sell it to a retail client for 30 off, 25 off. But on a resale end, I don't see myself paying, again, whatever the retail is. I would probably be paying for it similarly to what I paid for the Bulgari Tourbillon, which is around 30 cents on the dollar. So I hope that answers your question. Next one is from John, and John writes, hey Roman, I enjoy your videos and the back and forth between Adrian and yourself. You know, about the back and forth about Adrian and myself. You know, Adrian came to me as a kid, right? And I knew him as a kid. He's my business partner's son. He started working at the age of 17 pushing papers, and now, as you can imagine, he has gone a long way in doing what he does from pushing papers. Because he's like my little brother, and then I'm like his older brother, so naturally we bicker back and forth. But in any case, my question is, with the growing popularity for watches made out of materials other than gold, such as stainless steel, bronze, carbon fiber, rubber, etc., what materials would you like to see luxury watchmakers experiment more with in their watches? I personally would like to see watchmakers play around with new colors like Vanta Black and materials like tungsten. I challenge you to choose two materials not commonly found in watches currently, and one brand that you would like to see the materials in the future, rarity and value notwithstanding. I would like to see some semi-precious stones that are difficult to work with. And I think I may have talked about this in the past, a long time ago I talked about this, but I'll say it again. Malachite to me is a beautiful stone, often found in Russia. I remember growing up as a kid, my father was into antiques and we had a lot of things made out of malachite. It's a beautiful green stone. You see a lot of brands out there jumping on the bandwagon of making crystal case watches, right? But that crystal is not a natural crystal, it's a synthetic crystal, right? I would like to see them try to take some semi-precious stone, right? And experiment with semi-precious stones as a whole. There are amethysts out there the size of my fist, right? How popular would they be? Probably not a whole lot, and it wouldn't be very, very durable, but I would love to see a watch made out of tiger eye, right? Tiger eye is a very beautiful stone. really just take more natural stones out there and try to put a watch together from either an entire stone or at least a combination of pieces where you can put it together. As far as materials for the future, look, we're not too far from colonizing the moon. We're not too far from colonizing Mars. And you know what? I think the table of elements will change as we know it, because there will be stuff discovered that we don't know of here on Earth. And those are the materials I would love to see something made out of, including watches. Hope that answers your question. Another challenge. Let's see. This one comes from Aaron. And Aaron writes, "Hey Roman, love your posts. Have watched them all and I can't wait for the next one." Thank you. Here's a challenge for you. Marvel Comics calls you up. Need watches for their superheroes and match their persona. Since everybody knows you, the guru of watches, they want to choose the best watches for you. Well, first of all, if Marvel Comics hit me up, I'd be extremely happy. Let's see. Spider-Man. Well, Spider-Man wears that tight suit, right? It's like this bodysuit type of deal. So it'd have to be something that fits really closely to the wrist. So we just talked about Bulgaria Octofinissimos. They're super thin and they fit super slim. So it'd either be that or an RM67, something that fits really, really slim to the wrist and sort of adhere to his suit. Iron Man. Well, Iron Man is all about technology, right? And it's very futuristic and things of that nature. So for Iron Man, I'd probably go with an MBNF. Yeah, and pretty much any MBNF would work for Iron Man. What would I do for Wolverine? Now, Wolverine is, tough, rugged guy, right? With blades coming out of his fists. For some reason, I think Wolverine, I think Sylvester Stallone, so I'm going to say a big, richer meal, like an RM32 Chrono in titanium, maybe a PVD version, or a Carbotech Panerai, like a 47 millimeter, like the Sly Panerai that they made a while back. It was a PAM 202, I believe. Captain America, Rolex, right? I don't want to say gold Rolex, but Captain America deserves a Rolex. For some reason, even though these watches are Swiss-made watches, when I think Rolex, I think America for some reason. So I'm going to give Captain America a Rolex. Thor, I don't even know what to give Thor. He's a god, right? What do you give a god? Hammer, Thor, tough guy. I would give him some kind of a celestial watch, right? Because gods, planets, this, that, and the other. So I'd probably go with a Patek Celestial, a 6102, right? That depicts the celestial scene. It doesn't need a Sky Moon Turbia, but the Celestial Patek is probably going to be something that's cool for him. Although with his getup and the hammer, it probably looked pretty funky. So I'd give him like a Piece Unique 6102 and make it on a bracelet. I'm going to do one more from Stuart. And Stuart writes, "Hey Roman, thanks again for you and your team for the efforts you put in regularly making such compelling content. Thank you. I very much enjoy watching your weekly episodes here in sunny England." Is it so sunny over there right now? It's not sunny over here, that's for sure. I have another question for you. I recall you telling a story some time ago about a hugely expensive watch you acquired on behalf of a client without taking a deposit, only to find out the prospective client did not want to go through with the deal. This got me thinking that life can't have all been plain sailing en route to making your business a success it has clearly become. So my question is, what is the one watch deal that you're happy to talk about that has caused you the most stress, sleepless nights, and left you thinking, oh dear, how unfortunate. I fear I may have made a serious error of judgment in entering into this particular venture, and now growing concerned that this one is not going to end favorably. How did you manage this? Sheer luck. I can quickly tell you a story where I went to deliver a $550,000 grand complication Patek. I won't mention the person's name, but this guy was on a Forbes list. I previously sold a very similar watch to a friend of his. This friend of his was flying from LA to Florida and said, listen, my friend wants another watch like this, so therefore, meet us at his house. He's gonna buy this watch for you. Being young, got excited, thinking, okay, I just sold another $500,000 Patek. I'm gonna make another 50 grand. This is great for me, right? And I went and bought that watch for this other guy. It happened to be a trade show in Miami at the time where I picked up that watch. I went to the guy's house, and the guy, his friend flat out told me he's going to buy this other watch from you. I sent him pictures, said, hey, if this is great. This is exactly what he wants. I didn't talk to the guy directly. I meet the guy, we get in there, we start talking. I show him the watch, and he's looking at it, and he turns to his friend, and he goes, do I really need this watch for $500,000? Like, this guy's a multi-billionaire, and but yeah, maybe he wasn't that big into watches where the other guy was. And that's when everything inside dropped. I started getting butterflies in my stomach. Like, shit, this guy doesn't buy this watch. I have to get a $500,000 watch that I don't really know what I'm gonna do with it. It's not like the time I was selling these every other day. So that situation solved itself by sheer luck. But what I did learn from that situation is not to jump the gun, things through. I could have taken that watch on memo. Of course, by buying it right there and then, I got a better deal versus taking it on memo, but I could have made less profit with less risk. Instead, I made more profit while taking more risk, and I just don't do that anymore. So, Stuart, I hope that story sort of fits the narrative of what you were talking about. That's it for me for today. I want to thank you for tuning in once again. As always, email all your questions to romansharf@luxurybazaar.com. Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, do all those wonderful things that help my channel grow, and I'll see you guys next Tuesday.